Africa and Asia is blocked. Yet the armored knights from Europe can only move with care outside their strongholds. As unpopular occupiers, they're the victims of frequent attacks. The warriors of a Shiite Muslim splinter group join in the struggle. The assassins. In the Western world, they and their acts become the stuff of legend. Notorious not for the small number of their victims, but for their willingness to die for their cause. But what exactly is their cause? Their base is the fortress of Masyaf in Syria. Their descendants are the Ismailis, led today by the Aga Khan. The assassins can be a little difficult to explain away.
Well, I think first of all, it's important to comment on the fact that the Ismaili community is very pluralist. But there are things that have been said and written which just not very correct.
Today, the descendants of the assassins dedicate themselves to peaceful cultural activities. For example, restoring their fortress of Masyaf from the time of the Crusades. Perhaps today, as then, it's a question of remembering who they are, against the odds.
The cultural illustrations of history are extremely important. First of all, to maintain a sense of identity. And I think that you can look around you today and you can see what happens to communities or populations that have lost their sense of identity.
It is 90 years before a Kurdish general restores Muslims' sense of identity and self-confidence. Saladin. Saladin is commander of the armies of Damascus. After the ruler dies, he takes over. In 1187, he leads the united forces of Islam in a great battle against the Crusaders. At Hattin, the warriors from Europe, once thought to be invincible, are defeated. His success in battle makes Saladin a hero to all Muslims. Saladin's mausoleum in Damascus becomes a place of pilgrimage for those who still dream of a lost golden age of Islam. Saladin reconquers Jerusalem. The Dome of the Rock becomes the symbol of Muslim control over the holy city. Saladin spares the leaders of his Christian enemies. A king does not kill a king, he says. Now, a monarch appears from the west who will do the unheard of, negotiate with Islam. A Christian emperor, but one who has taken up Islamic habits, like falconry. Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II. The first European monarch who chooses to learn from Islam. Frederick II rules his sprawling realm from southern Italy. The Kingdom of Sicily has come under his control by marriage. But for a long time, Muslim Saracens left their mark on this land. To the Saracens that have remained, the emperor shows generosity and political savvy. He settles the Muslims in the garrison town of Lucera. and he turns them into his most loyal soldiers. It's a rare kind of tolerance.
Quindi noi abbiamo un Federico II che era tollerante e simbiotico tra le varie culture fuori dello Stato. Nello Stato, nel suo regno di Sicilia, era nei confronti delle altre religioni abbastanza intollerante. Ma questo dimostra che Federico II è un personaggio che fa politica e non ideologia.
Frederick takes a pragmatic approach to the struggle for Jerusalem. He sets out to negotiate. He may never really have played chess with the Sultan of Cairo, but the agreement he obtains, free access for Christians to pilgrimage sites in the Holy Land, is a fact. A crusade of reconciliation without bloodshed. His very success makes him an anathema to many fellow Christians. They see Frederick the Peacemaker as the spawn of the devil. Nothing less than a monster threatening Christendom. Frederick II is still a puzzling figure today, just like his most famous legacy, the Castel del Monte. But this fortress offers some clues to understanding the emperor. A walk through the castle shows architectural elements from several different periods and cultures. One remarkable aspect of this edifice is this. On every floor are wash basins and toilets with running water. The idea comes from the Orient. There's nothing like it in Europe. And that's not all that's important about this building.
Il Castel del Monte è anche un messaggio, oltre che di cultura estremamente ampia e variegata, è anche un sintomo di tolleranza verso culture, religioni, razze differenti, perché Federico II cercò in tutti i modi di far convivere pacificamente all'interno del Regno di Sicilia presenze etniche diverse.
The clearest expression of this is in its shape. An octagon. It quotes the buildings of every culture, and it links east and west. The country that Frederick II rules in southern Italy is intended to do the same.
Lo Stato creato da Federico II è uno Stato fortemente accentrato ed è uno Stato in cui il centro del potere, il sovrano, si serve di un ceto burocratico. Per questo Federico II, anche per questo Federico II fonda lo Studium a Napoli nel 1224 e l'università.
It still bears his name. Frederick II was a 13th century visionary. His southern Italian empire has absorbed the legacy of the Orient. It's a legacy from the centers of Arab Islamic culture. Damascus and Baghdad had accumulated ancient Persian, Indian, and Chinese knowledge. In the 12th and 13th centuries, this knowledge reached the West via Italy and Spain. Naples, and above all Toledo in Spain, are the bridges for the transfer of knowledge. As early as 1085, the city of Toledo was reconquered by the Christians, together with all its Muslim libraries. The new rulers are quick to set up a school for translators. It still exists. In the 12th century, this city sees a transfer of cultures without precedent via a new translation technique, the viva voce method. The Arabic text is read aloud and roughly translated into Romance, the early form of Spanish. After a short discussion, the approved translation is set down in Latin. Today, they're testing this technique. The result may not be as precise as one translator working alone, but it is incomparably faster. The right system, when there is such an intoxicating thirst for knowledge.
Ese saber produce una revolución en el conocimiento europeo, en la Sorbona y en tantas universidades de Europa, y contribuye a sentar las bases de lo que 2 siglos más tarde sería el Renacimiento.
The legacy of the Orient leads to a great leap forward for the West. The Renaissance ushers in Europe's golden age. Florence in northern Italy is one of its centers. It's here that the image of the confident, modern individual first takes shape.
Im Westen hat sich die Renaissance entwickelt, mit Kunst, aber auch mit Technik, mit neuen Einsichten der Philosophie. Es hat sich die Reformation gebildet, das religiöse Individuum ist selbstständig geworden. Das alles hat möglich gemacht, einen gewaltigen Aufschwung.
A surge that encompasses the whole of Europe, building on the foundations of the achievements of the Orient. Navigational instruments through which the heavens could be explored. The Arabic and Indian numbering systems with which Europe would henceforth do its mathematics. Muslim medicine and surgical instruments revolutionizing the healing arts in Europe. Oriental fruits and spices enriching European cuisine. Paper as the basis of knowledge and its dissemination, while the mill becomes the heavy machinery of the modern age. And at this very moment, Islam is threatened by a new enemy from the East. The Mongols, savage warriors from the steppes, sweeping in from the endless plains of Central Asia. Their 13th century leaders, the Khans, build them into a fearsome and unpredictable force. In 1258, they attack and take Baghdad. The chronicles tell of appalling brutality. Hundreds of thousands perish in the battles and their aftermath. The conquerors build pyramids of skulls. And knowledge, too, is a victim of this orgy of destruction.
Einer dieser Schläge, der ganz entscheidend war, war der Einfall der Mongolen, die Totalzerstörung von Bagdad, zum Beispiel unter anderer Städte. Das fruchtbare Land des östlichen fruchtbaren Halbmonds, Euphrat und Tigrisbecken und so weiter, wurde auf Jahrhunderte lang sozusagen verwüstet und zerstört.
The fall of Baghdad does not mean the end of Islamic culture. At the edges of the empire, it continues to flourish. The Mongols' descendants in Samarkand, today's Uzbekistan, take up the religion of their defeated enemy and create cities of a new splendor. This is the mausoleum of a 15th century ruler who had his own vision of a Muslim golden age, Ulugh Beg. His passion is not on earth, but in the sky. In Samarkand, he constructs a mighty building devoted solely to the observation of the heavens. Ulugh Beg plans to compile star charts to surpass those of the ancients. His catalogue will fix the exact positions of 1,018 heavenly bodies. It will be another 200 years before European astronomers outdo his achievements. Ulugh Beg said, "Religions dissolve like fog, empires destroy themselves. Only the discoveries of science are valid for all eternity." Ulugh Beg's observatory is close to the city center, a giant circular building that outshines the greatest mosques of the city. But this blossoming of Islamic science will not last. Once again, religious fundamentalists tear down the temple of knowledge. To punish the arrogance of the human spirit towards God. Only the underground part of the observatory escapes destruction. It conceals a gigantic sextant used to study the movements of the sun. Ulugh Beg's scientists calculate the length of a year at 365 days, 6 hours, 10 minutes, and 8 seconds. Today's latest figures differ from these 15th century calculations by just 58 seconds. Ulugh Beg's scientific achievements failed to impress his contemporaries. After political unrest, he is deposed, forced to go on a pilgrimage to Mecca. Ulugh Beg has little time to reflect on his sins. His son has him murdered on the way. His science lives on only through its transfer to the West, like so much of the knowledge of the Orient.
Die Bedeutung liegt vor allem darin, dass es einen Anstoß und dass es Anstöße gegeben hat, Denkanstöße für das Abendland. Das Abendland war kulturell, wissenschaftlich gerade so an einem Tiefpunkt angelangt, war aber bereit, sich irgendwie weiterzuentwickeln und man war offen für anderes.
And to new worlds. At the end of the 15th century, the age of discovery begins. Advances in shipbuilding and navigation make it possible. European seafarers discover America and the sea route to India. The old Arabic trade routes lose their importance. Quite suddenly, Europe has the advantage, and the Muslim world seems to have fallen too far behind to catch up. The year Columbus discovers America, Muslims lose their last stronghold in Western Europe. Under the pressure of the Christian advance, the Emir of Granada quits Spanish soil forever. He leaves his city without a battle to save it from destruction. Granada's Alhambra Palace remains a shining reminder of the golden age of the Islamic world. Islamic science and learning will now stagnate for 500 years. But not Islamic power. In the East, the situation is quite different. a resurgent Muslim power besieges the last remaining Christian stronghold on the borders of Asia. The Turkish Ottomans attack Constantinople, still the biggest and richest city of Christendom, ushering in the mightiest Muslim empire of all time.